Hey guys, just continuing off with the collection. Almost done here, finally. Starting off, we have Pocket Bike Racer, another one of the Burger King games. It's basically just a blatant Mario Kart ripoff. It's got spotty controls, but it can actually be a bit of fun if you have friends over, but it's nothing special. Prey, a really great first-person shooter. It's really easy when you die. You don't really die in this game. You essentially don't die, which kind of sucks, but this actually had portals before Portal ever did. You go through portals in ceilings and on walls and things like that. Lots of really cool guns, and one of my favorite game intros of all time. I love the intro to this game. Prince of Persia, this game is pretty meh. I don't know, it's really easy. Like Prey, you can't really die in this one. You die and you immediately come back to life. And the whole game is really repetitive. It's just basic platforming through the entire game. Prototype, a really fun open world game with lots of cool missions, and it's really gory and a lot of cool superpowers you get to have in this game. I want to play the sequel. It kind of looks like more of the same to me, but I think I'm going to wait till it reaches around $20. Quake 4, just a really solid first-person shooter. Doesn't really do anything crazy remarkable. The weapons are a bit bland, but I don't know. If you like first-person shooters, this is a fun game, I think. 007, Quantum of Solace. For a newer James Bond game, this is actually pretty good. Like Quake 4, it's nothing remarkable, but it's a solid third-person shooter, first-person shooter type hybrid, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, this is a pretty fun game. Rage, I actually got lucky. I got this game like weeks after release for like $20. I don't know why it was that cheap, but this game, it's pretty good. It's really it's got fantastic graphics, some of the best graphics on the 360. And, it's a really solid first-person shooter, but I wasn't too big on the vehicle sections. The multiplayer was crap, and there are a lot of these side quests that just aren't very rewarding, so I found it just better to just go straight through the main storyline. Still pretty good FPS, though. Raiden Fighters Aces, a selection, I think there's 3 shoot-'em-up games on here. I'm not too crazy into shoot-'em-ups, but these ones are really fun. And I think if you're hardcore into shoot-'em-ups, this game is really awesome. Rayman Origins, a fantastic game, one of my favorites this generation. Just a really nice platformer with amazing visuals, really creative level design, nice charming humor. Really long too, like this game's got a lot of levels and bonus content. My only problem with it is the difficulty. I find it's really easy, this game. There's some stages that will give you a bit of trouble. There's these like treasure stages where you got to chase this treasure box. Those levels are kind of tough, but other than that, this game, I find it maybe a bit too easy, but still a fantastic game. If you love platformers, or if you love platformers, you have to play this. Red Dead Redemption, yet another fantastic game from Rockstar. Grand Theft Auto in the Wild West. Really awesome storyline, tons of things to do, and I even liked the competitive multiplayer somewhat in this game, which was surprising to me. Really just a fantastic game all around. Resident Evil 5. A lot of people hate this game. Tons of people hate this game. I actually kind of like it still. I was a huge fan of Resident Evil 4. I thought that game, it was just phenomenal. And this game, took that same control scheme, which I liked quite a bit. I didn't like the co-op focus. I think that's the downfall of this game. The co-op and the fact that it's really an action game. There's no horror here at all. Like, it's called Resident Evil. It really shouldn't be. It's just, it's kind of just a third-person shooter action game. If you think of it that way, it's a pretty fun game. But, yeah, in terms of Resident Evil 6, I definitely don't want that. I played the demo. It was fucking horrible. I hated that demo. The controls, the camera, everything about it just really rubbed me the wrong way, which is a shame, because I like this game, and I loved Resident Evil 4, and I love the older Resident Evil games too. Rock Band, the game that killed Guitar Hero for me. When this came out, I just loved it. I loved the drums. That was so cool at the time. A great song list in this game. Really a lot of fun to play, especially with other people. And then, of course, Rock Band 2. I don't play this much anymore, but back when it came out, and I'd say for a good 2 years or so, I would play this for around an hour every day. Like, I've probably put in over 1,000 hours into this game. Like, I've bought tons of songs as DLC. Like, I just flat out love this game. My interest in the plastic instrument genre is kind of waned since then, so I haven't played this too often, but, this is still a fantastic game, and definitely a lot of fun if you have people over. The Saboteur, pretty generic open world game. It's got this cool black and white setting, and once you take over territories, it's colored in like red and stuff like this in different colors. Not too much to say about this one. I found myself kind of bored all the way through, so I don't know, not really for me. Sacred 2, the closest thing you'll get to Diablo on the Xbox 360. The controls take a bit getting used to, and this is not a polished game by any means. The graphics are crap. The voice acting is awful. The music's not that great either, but if you love loot fests, I guarantee you'll like this one. Saints Row, I remember playing the demo of this game on Xbox Live back when it came out, and I was just blown away, because this was the first time I'd played like an open world Grand Theft Auto type game on a next generation console back then, on the 360, so the graphics blew me away here. I loved all the customization, all the different weapons. I loved just screwing around in this game. And, the full release was awesome too. A really interesting storyline that was a lot better than I expected it to be. Some really great characters and a lot of humor. Then Saints Row 2, which had an even better storyline, more humor, more things to do, just an all-around better game. And then finally, the recent Saints Row 3, which took it to a whole other level. Like, this game is just nuts, and I love it for it. If you love Grand Theft Auto type games in the slightest, this is just amazing. Seen it, found this for cheap. I like the board game, so I thought I might as well pick this up. Haven't put too much time into it, but it seems like a faithful and accurate representation of the board game. Shivering Isles, just the disc version of the DLC for Oblivion. Silent Hill HD Collection. Now, I was a bit hesitant on getting this because I heard the technical issues were just atrocious in this game. But really, I didn't find any issues with this. I thought this played perfectly fine. I had played Silent Hill 2 before, and that's always been one of my favorite games. I love that game to death, and it's awesome to play it again here. But Silent Hill 3 I had not played, and that's a fantastic game too. And there's a moment in Silent Hill 3 that I don't want to spoil it if you haven't played it, but one of the scariest game moments I've ever seen. Like, it genuinely creeped me out, and games don't really scare me that much. Like, Silent Hill 2, I find that's a very disturbing game, and the atmosphere kind of gets to me, but Silent Hill 3, that one moment, and if you've played the game, you might know what I'm talking about, but it's just a crazy, awesome, memorable moment. But, both games on here, excellent. If you hadn't played them, I definitely recommend this collection. I think it's great. Singularity, this is a really underrated first-person shooter on the Xbox 360. Some of the most creative weapons I've seen in an FPS game this gen. Like, this is like Perfect Dark. Like, back when Perfect Dark came out, the weapons in that were so creative, so unique. This game reminded me of that. And not only that, the actual gameplay is really fun, excellent level design. And the storyline in this is really interesting and actually pretty, it's well done. If you like first-person shooters, you gotta play this. It's really good. And the Juggernaut, Skyrim. I love this game. It fixed all the problems I had with Oblivion. It was a far more interesting world to explore. Lots of unique weapons and armor. Just a really phenomenal game all around. The only thing I didn't like about this was there's some inventory system quirks. How the favorites menu was set up I thought was kind of awkward. But other than that, just a fantastic, engrossing experience. Sneak King, another Burger King game, the last of the three and the worst of the three. It's basically a stealth game where you hand out burgers to people. Sounds a lot funnier and more interesting than it is. Sonic's Ultimate Genesis Collection, a must-own for the 360. I mean, the value here is ridiculous. Like, this is probably like a $10 game now, and you're getting like 40 plus games for the Sega Genesis. All the best games for the Sega Genesis. You got their Shining Force games, Streets of Rage, Sonic games. Like, pretty much everything's on here. There might be a few missing, but, it's a great selection of Genesis games, and, just a really fantastic game and a lot of value for your buck. Soul Calibur 4. I'm not too big into fighting games, but I do like me some Soul Calibur, and this is a great entry in the series. Spectra Force 3, a really bland, generic, boring strategy RPG. Skip this one. Star Ocean: The Last Hope. I love the Star Ocean games, and this is no exception. A lot of people weren't too hot on this game. I liked it. The storyline and characters are crap, I'll admit that, especially the main character. The main character in this game, oh my god. The middle part of the game, he turns into such a whiny, emo loser. It pisses me off, actually, that part of the game. But the gameplay in this, oh my. Like, there's so much depth to it. There's this awesome item crafting system, lots of exploration. The battle system is probably my favorite battle system in any RPG. It's so fast-paced, and there's so much to it. If you love JRPGs, definitely play this. Stranglehold, a really nice third-person shooter with some slow-mo effects. Nothing spectacular here, and the second mission in this game, I won't spoil it, but it's one of the worst missions I've ever played in any video game. Other than that, though, this is a really solid third-person shooter that's a lot of fun. Tales of Vesperia, went over this on my video for top 3 favorite games this generation. This came in number 2. Not much more to say than that. Just a fantastic game. JRPG perfection right here. Tekken 6, another fighting game series I happen to like quite a bit. It happens to be the Namco fighting games that I like, but really a lot of fun. Tiger Woods, PGA Tour 2007, like the only sports game I have in my collection. I do like a golf game from time to time. I'll pop this in every now and then and play it. Time Shift, one of those first-person shooters that has a nice concept. It's basically based around time. You can slow time, rewind time, forward time, do things like that. But the concept is not fully realized, and it comes across as a really bland and not that fun first-person shooter. Too Human. A lot of people, I'm surprised that a lot of people hate this game. I really like this game. I think this is actually a really great game. It's based on loot. Like, a lot of this game is finding awesome loot and equipping it to your character. It's a short game, and there's not much variety in the environments, but the combat system, I think, is really fun. The storyline's quite good, and it's really a shame that we're never going to get a sequel now, because it's sold like crap and everyone hates it. Turok, kind of a crappy first-person shooter. The campaign is really annoying. It's got really terrible aiming. The weapons are really not creative and very basic. It's a really frustrating game, too. It's frustratingly difficult. The multiplayer I liked a bit better, but it still wasn't all that great. Definitely go with the N64 Turok games. Those are much better. Two Worlds, like Too Human, it's another game on the 360 that's considered really crappy. I really liked this. The first couple hours are rough. I mean, the frame rate in this game is pretty bad. It's confusing at first. It's not really good in telling you what you're supposed to be doing. But once you get past that first few hours, you find out that this is actually a really deep open world RPG similar to Skyrim or Oblivion. Really a lot of fun. And then Two Worlds 2, which is a nice improvement over the first one and even more addictive and fun. Unreal Tournament 3. I bought this because I liked the original Unreal Tournament back in the day on PC. I couldn't really get into this much because it's heavily based. It's pretty much a multiplayer only game, so I couldn't really get into it. The Witcher 2, I was really excited for this one upon release, and it's an amazing game. A really great mature storyline, some really interesting combat, and a nice varied world to explore, and some great characters too. Awesome game. The standard Xbox Live Arcade disc. This came with the arcade Xbox 360 consoles, which I had, so that came with this. What's on here? Pac-Man, Championship Edition, Uno, Boom Boom Rocket, Luxor 2, and Feeding Frenzy. All pretty decent games, so this is nice to have. And finally, X-Men Origins Wolverine, one of the best movie-based games I've played. You know, a really gory action game, which was nice because considering the movie was not gory at all, and, well, it sucked ass. But yeah, really fun game. Well, that's the collection, guys. I want to thank you for watching. I know it was long, 3 parts. Basically, just comment on the video. Let me know some recommendations. Maybe there's some games I missed out that you think are pretty good. I know there's still a few older games I'd like to get. Shadows of the Damned, for instance, looks awesome. I'd like to get that. Syndicate is another game I'd like to get. I'm sure there's a bunch of others. And, of course, there's a bunch of games coming in the future. But that will do it. See you guys.